Hello, my name is Robert Emmett Hernan. I'm head of BlueStack Productions, Inc., the publisher of Irish Environment, an online resource for environmental matters on the island of Ireland. We're here today for another in our series of conversations on environmental matters. And I'm very pleased today to welcome Langston James Goree, the sixth, also known as Kimo. And you're very welcome, Kimo.
Thank you.
It's okay if I call you Kimo.
Absolutely.
And we have to explain to the audience where Kimo comes from.
I was born in the Hawaiian Islands on Kinkamehameha Day, and Kimo is a Hawaiian name for James.
I see.
So I've had the nickname since I was born.
And now you work for the International Institute for Sustainable Development. And I wonder if you could tell the audience what that is and what it does.
Sure. The International Institute for Sustainable Development, IISD, is a charitable nonprofit organization based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which was founded in 1990 as an output of the Brundtland Commission, which had been set up to investigate the relationship between environment and development. And Canada's contribution to the outcome of the Brundtland Commission report was to create a think tank in Canada, based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, to work on the issue of sustainable development and providing information to decision makers on sustainable development matters.
And what is the scope of its work now? Does it research and development work?
Sure. IISD is really sort of a think tank. We have offices in Winnipeg, Ottawa, and Geneva, and here in New York. There are a number of programs at IISD, and the programs at IISD deal with climate change within the Canada context, natural resources management, particularly water resources in Canada, trade and sustainable development, trade and sustainable investment based out of Geneva, which deals a lot with perverse incentives, perverse subsidies, and you may have seen some of the work that IISD did with OECD regarding biofuels and the real sustainability or energy aspects of biofuels. IISD also works on internet governance and how sustainable development concepts can be worked into internet governance. So it's a large organization. However, the flagship product is the Earth Negotiations Bulletin.
And you're director of reporting services within the IISD. And what is that function within the IISD?
IISD reporting services provides information and knowledge management products to a range of readers. I think probably about 80% of our readers are government delegates. People who work in ministries of foreign affairs, ministries of environment, ministries of development cooperation, ministries of energy, trade, etc. UN bureaucrats, people who work in UN agencies and programs, members of civil society, and the media. So it's a very specialized audience. We think we probably reach through secondary and tertiary distribution about 175,000–200,000 decision makers in environment and sustainable development policy.
How did it come about, the bulletin? I mean, how did you, what was the need that you were
I was working in the Western Amazon for a Brazilian non-governmental organization called IFI, the Institute of Prehistory, Anthropology and Ecology. I had been working at UNDP, the United Nations Development Program in Brazil, had left there in 1989, had gone up into the Amazon and had a program with the Canadian government of importing computers and distributing computers to non-governmental organizations in the Amazon, including rubber tappers, indigenous organizations, and environmental groups, and small workers groups. And we were distributing these computers and hooking the NGOs up onto the packet switching networks so that they could tie in with other NGOs working around the world. I was working there at EFI, and I had heard about the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which was held in Rio de Janeiro in June of 1992. And I got involved in the preparatory process. I wrote a small paper about computer-mediated communication and civil society participation in this Rio event, and went to Nairobi, Kenya in August of 1990 to try and lobby for sustainably harvested non-wood forest products and for to get organizations to start using these computer networks to start talking to one another, so that we as civil society internationally could come together and form our collective opinions about what this meeting should be doing. During that process, I realized that the NGOs really didn't know what was happening in the negotiations. So in 1991, I called together a number of other academics, and we sat down and wrote up a summary of what was happening inside the negotiations. We sent it up on the computer networks. Funny story. The next day, I was walking down the hallway, and the head Soviet delegate, Mikhail Kokev, walked up to me holding our report in his hand. He said, "Kimo, you write this?" I said, "Mikhail, yes, I did. How do you have a copy?" He said, "This is very good. You write this?" I said, "Yes, Mikhail. I sent it out on the NGO networks. How is it that you have a copy of this?" He said, "Kimo, Soviets monitor NGO networks." I said, "Yes, of course they do, Mikhail." He said, "Kimo, next time you publish something like this, you send to me, so I send to Moscow, not Moscow send to me." And I thought at that moment,
you're onto something.
Maybe we're onto something. Maybe it's governments that want to know what they're doing.
Right.
Maybe we could start publishing this and circulating it out to governments, which is exactly what we did. We published a thing called the Earth Summit Bulletin, which was a single page, 2,000 words, front and back, came out every day, no adverbs, no adjectives. Here's exactly what is happening inside the negotiations. And that's been the hallmark of what we have done as a publication over the last 20 years. Timely, neutral, authoritative, and absolutely unbiased. We have no dog in the fight.
And now you're doing that for many major international conferences.
But something very important happened at that point. We went to the organizers of these meetings and said, "We want full access. We're not behaving as NGOs here, but as something different." As Shakespeare would say, neither fish nor fowl. We're not NGOs, we're not media, because we're not using adverbs and adjectives. We're an independent conference reporting service. We would like to have secretariat badges. Well, it was a big fight at that point. And they said, "Yeah, we will." Altogether, we probably attend about 35 UN meetings each year on a variety of issues.
And it's the fact that they trust you providing pretty much a fact-based report is why they're allowing you to continue to do that stuff.
Yeah, I think the success has been that governments have recognized that we do something that the UN does not do very well, and that is to turn information around quickly, because the UN, all information has to be vetted. And back in the early 90s or late 90s, the UN was not very sophisticated technologically. They didn't have listservs or websites. They simply weren't able to provide governments with information and knowledge as quickly as governments wanted to get it each day. And that was why governments started funding us to do what the UN was not doing, basically outsourcing information communication services at these large meetings to us, a non-governmental organization.